Alrighty then, YouTube. This is actually a top 16 profile from Joey Palladino of Crossworld TCG, videotaped by Chris of UniX DBS. So it's kind of like this cool little tiny collab. But more importantly, we're about to show you the next spike in the market watch list. So yeah, just how did this weekend go for you, man?
Awesome, man. First, before we start, definitely go follow UniX DBS. Chris is awesome, dude. I actually really like his content, so go check him out. But yeah, I mean, this weekend we came to the Philly Regional. I decided to play Trunks Vegeta. For me, it was between Trunks and U7. I was just gonna pick one of the two. I ended up just going with Trunks because you guys know me. I love playing yellow. I do like playing red too, but I like playing this game where I can punish my opponent for misplaying, and that's where I just get the most enjoyment out of it, so that's why I go with yellow. But yeah, I play Trunks Vegeta. It resembles Icarus in a lot of ways, which was, my baby. But yeah, let's go right to the profile. Screw it. All right, so we got the leader. You guys all know what it does by now. All right, for the one drops, obviously we have the 4 Vegeta, the 4 Trunks. The only thing I want to mention here is that if you open both in your hand, some people just don't know this, so that's why I'm mentioning it. Play the Trunks and find a Vegeta from your deck and keep the other Vegeta in your hand, because once you awaken, you have a Trunks under your leader, right? Or sorry, a Vegeta under your leader, right? So now you have another Vegeta in your hand to start doing evolve stuff. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. But 8 1-drops, obviously. 2 Bulmas. I go with 2 of this. I just really don't want to miss on my 1-drops here. Yeah, I don't know. Some people play 4, some people play 0. I side this card out a fair amount, and in those cases, I just take the gamble of just not potentially seeing it. But luckily this weekend, only one game I didn't open a 1-drop, so that ended up working out well. Of course, we have the 4 Trunks blockers and the 4 Vegeta evolves. Besides the fact that there's really good cards, you want to be doing this every single turn so you can draw one off their ability and draw one off your leader, allowing you to draw when you EX evolve. So you want to kind of sequence your turns, making sure you can do at least one of each of these per turn. And then for a new card, I'm playing 2 copies of SS2 Gohan Unison. So most yellow decks for a long time, we always played Trunks Altering the Future. I think that card is still very good, but I think if you're going to play this card, you got to play it a little bit differently. This is obviously more of like a value engine where you +1, you draw a card, and you're setting up that -3 kill. I won't lie, that -3 kill is actually very hard to set up because of a lot of floodgates in the format, and we deal with that more in the sideboard. And yeah, this card's so beautiful. Get that close up, baby.
So good looking.
It's so nice, dude. I wish we could resolve the auto. We just don't play enough unisons, nor would it really make sense to. But yeah, lots of floodgates in the format, so you're trying to set this up. And of course we have Cooler, which we'll see later, but you do have to be kind of cognizant of that. I think this deck has enough removal in the deck already, between the Vegetas and stuff, to where you don't need Altering the Future. That's why I do like Unison as well. But a lot of times too, I side this card out going second, because that's more a best of 3 tip, but this card is very hard to establish going second because tapping out on 3 is pretty dangerous when your opponent's going to 4. But if you're going first, this card is very good to establish on 3. Tapping out on 3 is not too bad, especially if you have defenses in your hand. Extra card lineup, of course, 1 Power of Super Saiyan, 1 Vegeta's Final Flash, keep our opponents honest. We are playing 2 copies of Black Kamehameha. This card is so beautiful. This card is really good on paper, but good players don't let you resolve this card because it's all about sequencing, right? If my opponent sequences properly, this card is very dead in my hand, so a lot of times I will side it out, but it's still too good of a card not to include. That's why I'm still playing it, but I want to let you guys know about that.
From henceforth, if anybody watches this video and gets caught lacking by this card, they're just going to remember your words and be like, yeah, am I bad?
99% of the time, you got to attack with your battle cards first, and that's just the way to play around this card. The only thing you get punished by doing that usually is a Zamasu Super Combo, which I don't personally play. My teammate Jordan plays it, and he's a far better player than me. But yeah, Zamasu Super Combo is the only card that can really punish that usually. But yeah, usually attack battle cards first against this deck. A tip to beat my own deck. Look at that. 3 copies of Forbidden Power. I think 3 is really good this format. There are a lot of pseudo-aggressive decks where you just want to put a limit on their turn. And in this deck in particular, and most yellow decks nowadays, not actually negating the attack is okay because you have so many battle tricks. I can Forbidden Power and then Black Kamehameha or do some other stuff like that. So I personally like this, but I'm sure there'll be decks in the future where Nimbus is good again. You just actually want to negate the attack. That makes sense to me. But for this right now, and actually the offensive ability was relevant this weekend too. So Forbidden Power is really good. 3 copies of Frieza Army Reinforcements. I'd probably play 4 if we were a leader that went to 5 life, but sometimes you get stuck at 6, so 3 is a really good number. Of course, we have our 4 Riposte, and the weird thing that I think about with this card is there are so many answers to this card in the meta, but we still play 4. And I don't think it's correct to play less than 4, but you got to be very cognizant of your opponent's ability to deal with the card. So a lot of times I will try to leave 2 energy open and do this so that if they do counterplay it, I have energy for more defenses, you know, because nowadays we're playing mono yellow and not blue yellow, so your energy is a lot more precious. You got to definitely map it out a bit more. Only 2 copies of Steadfast Goku. Most of the boss monsters you're going to deal with are going to have Deflect, so this card's a lot less valuable, but I still wanted to include the 2 because it can be very clutch, especially against like lower to the ground, like U7 playing a 1-drop 17 or something like that. This card can still be solid, but yeah, 4 is certainly excessive. 3 is, I think you can play 3, but I think 2 is fine. We have 1 copy of SSB Vegeta and SS Trunks Father-Son Bonds. So this is like a cheeky boss monster I play. When I was playing Red and my teammates were playing Yellow Trunks, they were always catching me with this, right? Like if they would go first and I was going second as the red deck, I would tap out for whatever play I made, and they would go into this on 3. And they would always catch me with a triple strike crit because I was tapped out, defenseless, didn't have an after image, whatever. So this card can be very cheeky in that regard, but it's also very nice that it costs 2 and Cooler costs 3. So on turn 5, this can be a win condition. Like that actually won me a couple games this past weekend. So I do like the one of, if blue ever becomes the best color, you probably shouldn't play this card in the main, honestly. Same thing for if yellow becomes the best color, but while red is still really good and green is pretty decent, this is a good card to main deck as a one of. I like it. It's kind of like another secret rare, sort of. 2 Basil was a more recent addition to the deck. I think it's very good at applying cheap pressure, which again, like now we're playing mono yellow, we don't have as much energy as we used to. We want to be getting a fair amount of pressure for a cheaper cost, and Basil does allow that. I did like the fact that I added this to my deck for sure. We've got 3 Turles. 3 is all you need, don't really need 4. You can start casting them as early as turn 3, but a lot of times on 3, you'll make like a different evolve play to get your double draw. So this guy typically doesn't come out until 4 or later, but still just a super valuable card for 2 energy. It's insane for 2 energy.
It's one of the last yellow cards that just just stereotypical yellow. He cannot be drawn dead. Like they're like, yeah. What if I don't have 2 targets? Well, you'll just draw instead. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Oh, even playing him to not kill anything, like just a draw 1 double striker for 2, like it's good value for sure. All right, so here we get into the super sauce. So we have our 3 Krillin super combos. Why are we playing 3 Krillin super combos? Because we're playing Gohan and Piccolo Newfound Might.
Disgusting.
I've got a story about this card that I'll talk about. So if you saw this card and didn't think it was good, I don't understand what game you're playing. But besides that, right, I started playing this card and I started playing at locals with my teammates and stuff. And I noticed this card was incredible against aggressive decks because they would be aggressive towards me, I would defend it all, and it was very hard for them to deal with this 40k attacker. But I found this card was actually a little bit less good against the long game control decks, and that's where Cell Xeno shines. Cell Xeno shines in allowing you to close out games against the control heavy decks. But I figured this weekend was going to be a lot of mid-range, like a lot of mirror matches, a lot of Reboot Cell, a lot of U7. So I took the bet, played this card, and it paid off, certainly. I ended up going 6-0 my first 6 rounds, and then the last 3 rounds, I conceded to teammates that needed invites. So, I mean, I'm very happy with the fact that I went 6-0 right in the beginning and then kind of lost of my own volition after that. But yeah, so this card's incredible. I think it's really great for the format. If the format gets a little slower, maybe Cell Xeno becomes a little bit better, but you can't go wrong playing this card. It's just that good.
Imagine being so powerful that you can go 6-0 and just start giving away free wins and still make it to top 16.
I had to make sure my boys could go to Nats, but I mean, I really enjoyed playing this deck.
King lose.
2 coolers. So yeah, I've been on 1 cooler for a long time, but this is actually a meta where you might resolve more than 1 of this per game, as odd as it sounds. So I really like 2. Plus with this card, like seeing this card early can give you kill potential out of nowhere. Like having this card versus not having this card just creates kill potential. It's really crazy when you play the deck. So like, not only can you resolve 2 coolers in the game, but you can kill your opponent by seeing the cooler earlier. My stream game, actually, I played Trevor Barnes of Broken Honor, lots of cool content creators here this weekend, and I generated a turn 3 kill out of nowhere, which this deck can never kill on turn 3 typically. But just like cooler plus this, double strike, like it worked out. So 2 coolers, I'm a big fan right now.
You also play the mind games hard because you cooler mid-game. and people are like, oh, he must have really needed that cooler, and then you just moderate them, like, what are you gonna do about the second one? They're like,
Yep.
there's another one, like, and then that's game.
Absolutely, yeah. Chris gets it, absolutely. One Absolute Annihilation. Main reason this is my main is because it's a sideboard best of one event, right? So this is just an extension of my sideboard. I needed to fit the, I guess, 16th card on my side somewhere, so I went to 53 cards in my main. This was actually the Goku Black SR from set 16. It was kind of cheeky because you always have enough battle cards to resolve it. You can play it for 2, tap one of your opponent's energy. But I felt like it was a bit too costly, even though the effect is very, very good. So I cut that, put this in. There were some matchups I wanted this, like Cell Reboot. If I played against some random control decks like Baby, I would have wanted this. So I don't regret it. The one Bergamo, and now we said the power one-ofs, right? So we have Poutine, of course. The overall choice is Mira Assault from the Skies. I'm a big, big fan of this overall in this deck in particular because yellow can do so much with its energy on defense. So having the Overwhelm that gets you the energy back is really, really good. And then we have the one Champa, of course. So that is going to cover the main board. We'll check out the side deck. So I've got one Hellfighter 17, the Neutralizer. So main reason for this, I wanted to have an answer of some sort to the red Vegeta God Rare, Secret Rare. Because that card is just so overly broken. Takes your Unison out, takes your barrier blockers out. So I wanted to just have, like, if they have their one of, I wanted to have my one of answer to it. I actually did not play against a ton of red this weekend, so I brought it in maybe once or twice, but I think it's still a good sideboard card. Then we have Mutaito, Skill of a Sage. So this card I haven't seen play in a while, but the reason I brought it in is because against U7, in window 2, if they play, and I confirmed this with the head judge this weekend, in window 2, if they play Ultra Mastery, their activate main resolves in window 1 because it's part of the activate main. So in window 2, their card is already played. Their Ultra Mastery is already in play. So you play Mutaito, and now it has dodged the Ultra Mastery effect, so it can sacrifice itself in order to rest their Ultra Mastery. So I wanted to have that answer in the deck. You can still run into some issues if they resolve renew this, or if they Videl counterplay it, you can still have a problem. But I mean, you're forcing them to have those outs, and that means that they can't really play Ultra Mastery on 4 typically. So still a good card. It's also good against GT, rest their boss monster as well, so it's just solid.
If you need to rewind that, please do, because until this, like, recent, a couple days ago, I think, that was ruled like differently.
Yeah,
so that's a very important change to be cognizant
yes,
of.
Yeah, 100%. That makes sense because the activate main preface is set with what's that secret rare from Invoker called?
Apex?
Apex, yeah. Apex is the same way. Like, all of its effects resolve in window 1, and then window 2 you can't counterplay anymore because it blanks all your skills. So that preface is there. Back to the sideboard, we have one copy of Max Power and one copy of Bardock Fully Unleashed. First in Shenron for Cell Reboot, just removing tall battle cards. Like, I'll just swap this out with my one Mira in the deck if I need it, and then Max Power is just solid against tall threats. One more Forbidden Power. 4 might be excessive, but I think I want it against U7. I think I want it against GT. The earlier you see it, the better, so I think it's pretty good. Then we have 2 copies of Gohan, Trusted Ally. Our anti-hand control card, I might want to bump this up to 3, although I didn't play against hand control this weekend, but just having one every single time Cooler picks a card out of your hand is very, very good. I didn't play Deborah because, again, our energy is very precious. We can do a lot with our energy on defense. So I felt like I wanted the one that plays for free to defend myself with my other cards. One more Annihilation. I didn't really bring this in much. I did bring this in against Cell Reboot because if you do that, their Wretched Regeneration play now costs them 6 instead of 5. So that's pretty good there. They don't really have a ton of barrier removal either unless they tech specific cards. So that's pretty good. One Death Blaster, mostly for Cell Reboot. Other random boss monsters, but most of the boss monsters have deflect. So this was really for Cell Reboot pretty much. One Frieza Divine Transformation. Man, this used to be a main staple in yellow decks. Maybe like during Nats format, I guess. But this card's very awkward, because I think it is really good against like control decks like Baby, like Hachiyak, like random stuff like that. But tapping 5 is very risky. It is for sure. So you have to be certain it's a slow deck that can't hit you on the clapback. But I think the one of is worth playing. So basically, the way my side deck is built is a lot for slower decks. Like, I want to side into being able to beat slower decks, where I feel like my main deck is already very good against aggressive decks. That's basically my philosophy. 2 Tornadic Blow. This card is incredible. Like, just answering all the floodgates of the format. You've got Topo Righteous Aid in red. You've got the Gamma one as well. This stops the Gamma one. And then you hit the Gamma floodgate, and then you negate their Boo Unison, and then you have like free reign to do whatever you want. So that's really good as well.
Card tears up Gamma. You do it on their turn, you can turn off their 2-drop Unison too. You do it on your turn, you do exactly what Joey just said.
True, yeah, you can stop them from actually being aggressive with you too. That's a great point. And then we have 2 copies of the Goku Return of the Dragon Fist. So this is when I needed a boss monster. It's a little awkward because we're relying on our 2 of Unison to make this live, but this did win me several games actually. I did bring this in against Gamma, and I actually played against Tony from Super Players, more awesome content creators. So, for example, I had my Unison established from a few turns ago. I tyrannical blowed his Floodgate in Gamma, the Android 13 I think it is, or the 14. I negated that, and then I negated his Boo Unison effects, and I -3'd my Unison, and then I played Dragon Fist first, and then swung with this, and then I -3 my Unison, because if you Spirit Boosted, it goes back to normal, whatever. Yeah, it's just insane. Like, this could open up some crazy stuff, but yeah, that's the profile, guys. Chris, how did I do? You think I did it right?
Yeah, dude. I mean, you crushed it, and like, this is all solid. Like, as long as you're playing yellow, yellow is going to be a valid color regardless. It's like you and Jordan, just like the table legs to yellow right now. But no, this is all solid. Trunks Cheetah still has so many legs. It draws so many cards, and yellow effects are still valid. And really, it's a toolbox color. Like, they got a little bit of something for everything.
Yeah,
and
100%.
the fact that this can go long. Like, you saw his sideboard. He was able to go completely into the late game with other people. But at the same time, this deck can surprisingly close out people in the mid game, like, real hard, especially with the super combo, secret rares.
Yeah,
I was wild.
Absolutely. I just want to do a couple shout outs, man. First, shout out to Chris for doing the video. I really do appreciate it. Shout out to PBG for hosting an awesome event. They really are the best TO guys. Like, you got to go to their events, man. Shout out to my team, man. We had such an awesome weekend. Outside of just playing Dragon Ball, me and my team, we had such an incredible weekend. Like, I love those guys. Yeah, man. Shout out to all the awesome members of this community, all the guys that came up to me this weekend, letting me know the content was helpful. I really do appreciate that. And finally, shout out to our sponsors, Mystic TCG, best store in the game. And then we have DBS Deck Planet as well, best deck builder in the game. Hey, even Chris got the Mystic play mat.
Yeah, like, this is upside down, but like, yeah, Eden just told me, hey, I topped every time I played this mat, and I was like, okay, and look what happened. So
awesome, man. Chris, thanks again, man, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Chris, thanks for having me on. See you later, guys.